Greetings lecturer and everyone, my name is Tylon. Welcome to our first video project in Comparative Politics 307 Group 1. In this video, we're going to be bringing your attentions toward the comparison of presidential and the parliamentary system between the United Kingdom and the United States of America. So to begin with, we're going to look into the government's effectiveness in terms of separation of power, the government accountability, challenges and opportunity both states may have, and last but not least, recommendations for the future directions of each system. So without further delay, let's find out, and at least we'll be covering the first part for you. Let's rock and roll.
Greetings, lecturer and everyone. I'm Madalis and I'm from Group 1 with my other teammates, Tai Long, Sinat, and Sok Liang. In this video project, we compare and contrast between the UK parliamentary system and the US presidential system. So the first section is about the government effectiveness that we focus on the separations of power. Let's take a look at the executive power. In the UK, there is a place for the monarch as the head of state. The monarch is the ceremonial head of those three branches, is a commander-in-chief and the head of the privy council. This means that all the minister and official of the central government are the monarch servants and need to swear to the crown. But the monarch is not having the executive power. They cannot make law, impose tax, or spend the public's budget. How is the actual executive power? Different from the UK monarch, the US president also has the role as the head of state, head of the government, and commander-in-chief. But the president has the executive power. He or she is elected by indirectly through the electoral college with 4-year term office and the 8 years term limit. The process of the general election is not really that flexible like the UK. It needs to be after 4 years of the presidential terms and needs to be held in November. Besides, in the UK, the Prime Minister is the chief of the executive and the head of government, which elected by the people through first past the post system that needs to serve as the in the House of the Commons and needs to be approved by the Parliament. As long as the Prime Minister gain the support from the House of Commons or the Parliament as a whole, he or she still has the power with no limit or has the right to set the date of the general election after the 5-year period. But it could be easily removed that Prime Minister office power if there's no more support from the House of Commons. So how is the ministers? The ministers in both systems are selected by the Prime Minister and President of the Executive. But the cabinet of the UK is more active than in the US. It is because in the UK, the cabinet has the meetings with the Prime Minister once a week and have the consensus decision making with the guidance of the Prime Minister, while in the US, the cabinet meetings are not very routine, and thus they are the advisor of the president, which means they are lacking of decision-making power. But executive office of the president is more active because they have assist the president with day-to-day work to sign veto bills or sign the treaties or asking for clarification of the existing law. Turn to the legislature. Both systems are both bicameral. As it mentioned, the UK and the monarch has the ceremonial status, while the influence one is the Prime Minister that involves in the legislative body, influence both executive and influence and the legislative body. It is because of the executive choose from the legislative, while the cabinet of executive is also choose from the House of Commons. So the Prime Minister also has the power to select the Senate, and has to represent the House of Commons of his and her political party. For both house, it is very active in debate, but it is could be saying as a talking floor, but not working. And still, the bill is mostly initiated by the government, while in the US, the Congress is more strong and independent. All bills are initiated by the members of the Congress, and thus the works are more done than the UK. In the committee, they work hard and assist the president. But the thing is that the power that they have is the UK can remove the prime minister through the vote of no confidence, while the US, even though the Congress has the power, they cannot remove the president from the office unless there is the impeachment. But impeachment needs 2/3 majority by the checking of the Senate if the president is committing any guilty. So how about the judiciary? The judiciary is not really focused in this slide because we could see that in the US, there is the Supreme Court is worked more effectively. The judges are appointed by the president and approved by the Senate. And the court is based on the Constitution to check if proposal or law are right through the Constitution. While in the UK, the Constitution is not happening. There is no written constitution. So they are struggling to exercise the power because no rule is limited to the parliament role, since the parliament is powerful. So this is all for my part. Let's go to the government accountability presented by Sok Lieng.
Now let's talk about the government accountabilities of two types of government system between the UK and US. Now let's go to the compare. So the government system of parliamentary and presidential in both countries are similar in that they have separation power which divide their accountability and responsibility. And in executive branch, both types of government give the power to head of state to appoint minister and also design policy, and they are always accountable to the people. And ministerial responsibility, they respond for individual and collective, but they responsible for the government policy and also their own department. And in legislative branch, their common accountability, they up to House, they are like propose new law, voting for taxation and expenditure, and scrutinize government policy and administration. Also, they debate the major issue of the day and keep a check on government by scrutinizing its activity. For the last branch, like a judicial, the court investigate and judge legislature, government, and also citizens from their misconduct. Now let's look into the contrast of government accountability in United States. So we could measure government accountability through the numbers of citizens receive information that they use to make more judgment about the government performance and involve to address any issue. And in United States, the majority of legislative bodies have a high transparency, and at the state level, information technology make it possible for citizens to follow legislation from introductions of proposed bills or vote. And the government is answerable to citizen needs and involve identifying the problem. For example, in early 1990, a national movement have like designed to check the powers of legislature that has come in the form of citizen imposed tax and expenditure limit. Now 30 states have adopted this adapt on tax or expenditure limit, and currently there are also the lost interest of citizens on government. And according to the University of Denver research, almost 50 years ago, 77% of US citizens believe that their government like three brands would do the right thing always or most of the time. However, in 2014, less than 25% trusted the government, and the public have declining confidence in the government to solve the problem, and many people think that government is the problem, like outranking issues such as terrorism, the federal budget decline, the immigration, and the untrust of citizens to the government reflect on how the government is accountable and perform its duty. Now let's talk about government accountability of the United Kingdom. So regarding to the government responsibility in United Kingdom, we can see that the Prime Minister can hire and fire Minister at will, and this power is a mechanism of accountability for Minister, because Prime Minister hire them based on their performance. And there are also several online databases that complement parliamentary website and provide information about members of parliamentary and their behavior. Among them is They Work For You, which launched in 2014 in the UK to report or provide the information of parliament actions to the citizen. And this involvement of social media and citizens in scrutinizing parliament decisions and performance is the part of improving government accountability to public through open data. However, there are also like a misaccountable of government in some case due to their failure to deliver policy because the unclear responsibility between the minister and their own civil servant at department, and the lack of clarity over who is accountable make it difficult to assess who is responsible for decision. For example, the Rural Payment Agency struggled to implement the single payment scheme in 2006 as a result. Payment to many farmers were very late because there are no clear and transparent consequences for advice offered by civil servant and decisions made by minister.
So my friend has highlighted a lot of good points about the functioning and the governance system of the United States and the United Kingdom. In here, we're going to look into the challenges and opportunity of each system that is facing, and what are the good things of each system that they have provided to their society. First of all, we're going to look into the United States, and then we will be moving on to the United Kingdom. For the United States, we're going to highlight three main challenges that they are facing. First of all, is the money player who dominate the role in economic and politics. The money player here refer to those wealthiest people in America who donate a lot of money to the PAC. So what is PAC? PAC is the Political Action Committee who commit fund or simply collect money for the election campaign or election process of the reform. However, a lot of American donor or business or individual contribute their money to this PAC. However, only a few wealthiest who contribute the most money to this PAC. For instance, according to the Deputy Director of the Election Reform in the United States, she said in one of her videos on YouTube that around $100,000 has been contributed to the PAC by the wealthiest men in the United States. However, the majority of the people only contribute around $200 or more. So we can see that America is pursuing democracy. So in democracy, there is an equal of voices, equal participation. However, in this election process that they collect the money, there is no equality here, because the wealthiest who contribute the most has the most influential voice in the politics and economic. That is the first challenge. Second challenge is regarding to the executive and the legislature relationship. We know that in America, the vice president and the president is in the executive branch. So in these branches of government, they have a lot of power. The executive enjoying autonomous power and authority. So there is a need to balance the executive power. A lot of research and report and opinion-based article on internet has suggested that the United States should strengthen their overseas process, the process of checking and balancing the power of each branches to make sure that there is a transparency of information and the work as well. The last challenges is regarding the legislature and lawmaker ineffectiveness. In America, a lot of staff or majority of staff are young and have life experience. So the law or the policy that implement to the public tend to be not so effective, because according to report, it is said that if the lawmaker inside the legislature branch are a senior and the senior people or the one who have a lot of experience, the law that coming out tend to be effective. However, if you look into the America legislative branch, the worker or the staff are young and have life experience. So these are the challenges that the system is facing and urgently need to be addressed and resolved. That's for the challenges. We're moving on to the opportunity. For the opportunity of how the system is giving back to society, the United States adopted the democratic system in which they allow the people to voice out their opinion, their interests as well. So in the United States, there is a Republican and Democrat Party. So people who choose to identify themselves as the supporter of Democrat, they would go to Democrat Party. Who identify themselves as the Republican would go in alignment with their Republican value and interest. So in this sense, the people are competing for their own interest in all fields in the United States, whether it be politics, economic, or working or social field. These people who have different interests or are the supporter of two different parties will always be competing for their own interests. In this sense, we can see that America is giving a lot of opportunity and chances to the people to voice out their opinion, which is why this is one of the good points of their system. And this is all about the opportunity and challenges of the United States system. Now we're moving on to the United Kingdom challenges and the opportunity that they are facing. So we're going to look into two main challenges that the United Kingdom is facing. First of all, that is the decline of the democracy within its own country. According to many reports and books in 2016 until now, it has been reported that the democracy inside the UK is declining right now. For instance, the UK's Changing Democracy book by the London School of Economic and Political Science, it has written a lot of points about the threat and challenges that the UK is facing right now, which is needed to be resolved in the near future. UK is actually believed to be the top 10 democracy in the world. However, according to the Freedom House, UK is not in this list. It is not in the top 10, right? So in here it highlights that UK is facing a lot of the problem within its own democracy. As the book has suggested, there is the political division, conflict, and the law process, implementation process, a lot of complicated things that happen within their own system that needed to be resolved, because it has been threatening the United Kingdom since 2016 up until now. The second challenge is there is no proper set of constitution document. In the United Kingdom, they based on the history document, they based on the Parliament action and action of the Parliament. The action has been done by the Parliament, and it is not really in accordance with the Constitution, because there is no proper set of rule of the Constitution inside the United Kingdom like the United States or like in our country. That is all for the challenges. Now we're moving on to the opportunity, which is the last part. So in the United States, in the United Kingdom, their system enable people to participate and and allow the pressure group, the minority, to have voice to address their idea, their opinion, or their interest through their own participation in politics, because the people inside the United Kingdom, they are quite educated, so they know what they can do, what they want, they know how to get it as well. So they might form themselves into the outsider group or insider group of the pressure group, or sometimes they also form themselves into the trade union group, where they bargain and negotiate with the government for the condition for the their salary of their working job as well. So this is a very good point about the United Kingdom, because they allow the pressure group to have enough right to voice out their opinion and interest. And this is all for the opportunity and challenges of both country. Next, we're moving on to the recommendation.
Taking the related aspects into consideration, we can find out that both countries share similar and different challenges. In the first place, the system of checks and balances in the government was developed to ensure that no branch of the government would become too powerful over another. But in action, there have been unchecks and balances in both countries, like the United States may have too much power to make unilateral decisions without going through the Congress or legislative body, while the UK executive branch has some sort of policy enactment with few checks from the other branches as well, plus the informal and constitutional limits with too much flexibility. And therefore, this should be better if the UK is able to adopt a written constitution. Unwritten constitution allows too much flexibility in decision about whether or not to observe a constitutional convention and how to do so in practice. The government can easily amend the constitution and has too much power in its hand. But the dichotomy is that written constitution generally sets out a nation's underlying values with the method of government by codifying the entrenched document of the highest source of the law instead of the parliament. And the constitution will be more stable as it will be more difficult to be amended by the party leader.